What up, sexy world travelers? This is your boy, Big Sexy. This is the part of the show where we want to thank our big, sexy world travelers. Now, what makes a sexy world traveler a big, sexy world traveler, you ask? Well, big, sexy world travelers made their way over to our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/big sexy digital nomad, or better yet, bullwiththebutthole.com, and became supporters of Big Sexy Digital Nomad. So we want to say thank you to Jesus, Galen Diggs, Smitty Scoop, Angel Quo, Bree, Chris and Lisa Lowry at gowithlisa.com, Sebastian Robbins, Margaret White, Lee Popsicle, and Joshua Tarr. And we want to send a very special thanks to the sponsors of our podcast, Billy and Larissa, over there at cruisehabit.com. To check out their site, go to cruisehabit.com/BSDN or cruisehabit.com/Big Sexy. If you too would like to be a big, sexy world traveler and support this podcast, swing on over to bullwiththebutthole.com. That will take you to our Patreon page, where for as low as $1 a month, you too can become a big, sexy world traveler and have your name read at the start of our show. We thank you all for listening. Safe travels.
Safe travel.
To deal with the fact that it's so humid here, everything is wet all the time.
So for this past weekend, I will correct you. I was a hypnotist, podcaster, and wizard. And we went there to grab a drink, but one of them turns and asks me, "Hey, do you gamble?" And I'm like, "What?" let me tell you a little bit about that, right? You know, some of your strongest memories are anchored in a taste or a smell that's so.
Oh, very much so. You say, your grandmother. What do you remember about your grandmother's house? I think one of the first things that remember is the smell. Yeah. How the grandmother's house smelled, how the grandfather's house smelled. Or, unfortunately, some people, how their grandfather smelled.
Again, we didn't have any plans. So what am I talking about on a tangent that we didn't plan to get on? We're 105 episodes of not what we planned on. So here, if you want to be a wizard, this is what you do. Go again.
Whatever you imagine when you think of cruising might be both right and wrong, because cruising isn't one thing. I'm Bill from cruisehabit.com, and I'm a digital nomad working from ship and shore who loves sharing information to make sure people take the right cruises for them. Follow our adventures, enjoy tip videos, ship tours, and more in print and on our YouTube channel. Just visit cruisehabit.com/BSDN. We even host group cruises where you can cruise with us and get special treatment. Again, that's cruisehabit.com/BSDN or cruisehabit.com/Big Sexy. Whatever you'll remember.
Oh, hey, everybody. It's Judge Mentalist. We didn't see you over there. Just dropping in to do a little bit of a live stream for the next podcast episode here on Big Sexy Digital Nomad. Big Sexy is working in co-working space in Mexico. I am literally on a handful of hours of sleep, leaving the Michigan Hypnosis Conference, flying home, getting in my car, and driving from the airport to my office. So here we are, Big Sexy. What's happening?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever this is hitting your ear holes, I hope that it is good. It's a good day here in Mexico, in Playa del Carmen. I'm learning to deal with the fact that it's so humid here. Everything is wet all the time. This morning I woke up, took the dog for a walk, went to buy one of those 5-gallon jugs of water, and had to carry it to our apartment. And it's not a long walk. It's just like a block and a half, right? But like I soaked out the t-shirt that I was wearing in just that little bit of time. Like it was sweated and I was soaked. And I went, oh, I can't wear this to this co-working space. So I had to switch shirts, which kind of bummed me out because I mean, it's a print shirt, so I'm happy about that. But I was wearing, some Big Sexy Digital Nomad swag. I had a swag shirt on, which of course you too can get some Big Sexy Digital Nomad swag over at whereisbigsexy.com, where like you're putting on clothes. But yeah, I'm gonna support the podcast. I will, promote. I'm pretty sure I'm going to end up interviewing at least 80% of the people I meet today. Eventually, not today, but eventually I will interview most of them. But I got weird. I'm coming in today with like a lot of podcast pride. Cause I've been talking about this podcast for a long time. And in these kind of spaces, it's really awesome, right? Because it's like, what do? I get to say I'm a podcaster. It's actually what I do. You know what I mean? And then I get to talk about it. And of course, I love mentioning that you're a hypnotist and a lawyer in that order, because it generates almost the same response when I say I'm big sexy. The people go, oh.
So for this past weekend, I will correct you.
Ooh.
I was a hypnotist, podcaster, and wizard.
And wizard. Were you doing? Did you have a wand?
I didn't have a wand. It was a different style of magic than that. So I got back from the Michigan Hypnosis Conference. Bunch of hypnotists, both stage hypnotists, clinical hypnosis, and everywhere in between. If you check out my YouTube channel, I was a good podcaster and actually did probably 8 or 10 interviews this weekend.
Awesome.
I took all my equipment and took it out of the bag, which is more than I do most times I go.
That's the thing. You'll bring it with you. You'll take it with you.
I sure do.
It'll stay in your room.
Yeah. So this I had a whole setup. I mean, I was brought there to speak, and then the add-on was that I was going to podcast and interview people. So it was kind of my job. So I had to do it, but I wanted to do it anyway. So, but I brought out the big Between Two Minds backdrop that we usually bring at our shows, which was kind of a monstrosity in the hallway because they set me up in a hallway, not in one of the conference rooms. But the wizardry came in from this conference was held at a casino. We were at the Greek Town Casino in Detroit, Michigan. And on the final night that we were there, which was last night, because I flew in, my flight this morning was 5:45 a.m. So a time in which you would have just stayed up probably and just rode it out.
Yeah, I definitely would have. I definitely would not have gone to sleep. I'd have been like, I'm good. I'll just stay up until I get to the plane, and then I'll sleep on the plane.
I was basically at the point where I had a time selected, and I'm like, I'm in bed by this time, or I'm staying up through the night. Like it was just that close. So we did a big closing kind of banquet type of dinner together with not everybody, but everybody that could stick around after the conference. And then after that, 2 other hypnotists and I wanted to go have another drink. So we walked over to the casino. And one of them, and we went there to grab a drink, but one of them turns and asks me, "Hey, do you gamble?" And I'm like, "Well, let me tell you a little bit about that, right?" And so we got into the conversation, which I think we've talked about on here before, about being able to kind of sniff out ripeness, so to speak, on certain machines and things like that. And I was, "Ooh, we've got to see this." And I spent a good 20 minutes walking around with these 2 folks following me. And at some point in time, they must have thought, that I was putting it on and that it was just a total farce. In fact, at some point in time, because I'm looking at every single machine to see
of course you are.
I'm looking at for seconds because I know it's not what I'm looking for. Other ones I'm looking for what I'm looking for. And at some point in time, it's like, they're like, "Are you just trying to help us all get our steps in, or what's the deal here? How does this work? The
do
casino was
you secretly work for Fitbit? Are you
Yeah.
taking us around making sure we get all of our
Exactly.
10,000 steps in? I already have 10,000 steps in, guy. I don't need your assistance.
So we definitely got our steps in, and then I finally see something that fits within my criteria, and I'm like, all right, this one. I'm gonna sit down at this, and then I kind of shows down what I'm looking at, and it's side
Right.
by side with the same machine, and I'm like, you see this here, and you see that there. Those two are not the same. That's why I'm sitting here and not there. And somewhere, and I didn't time this, but somewhere within the first 5 to 10 minutes of me sitting down at this machine, I trigger a bonus game,
Right.
and I win a $1,600 American money jackpot.
Nice.
And they just look at me like, bro, what the fuck just happened here? I'm like, what I told you was, and here's the thing. This is a party trick that does not work every time. But
No,
last
definitely
night,
does not.
I look like a freaking wizard.
That's awesome.
A lot of times, especially the types of machines that I'm looking for are, and I know we didn't intend to get into some like big casino theory talk, but I'll keep it brief. A lot of times the machines that I am looking for are what they call high volatility machines.
Right.
So there's big swings. Sometimes you got to dump a lot of money in these machines to crack them to the point where you're going to get a decent sized win. Now, more often than not, because generally speaking, and in most settings, this was not one of them. I did not bring a whole lot of cash with me. But in most settings, I will carry the bankroll that allows me to survive those swings.
Right.
And more often than not, because I'm also a good quitter, I come out on top. Most of my wins are not purely luck based. And when I say wins, I mean I'll go out and I'll come back and say, hey, I won $2,000, $5,000, $6,000 on this particular trip. It's because I know when to quit.
Right.
The once you've gotten to that point where you've pumped enough into it, weathered that storm, and then you get the big hit that puts you into the black. Okay, cool, I'm done. I legit, I hit that one, and I legit was like, okay, cool, guys, I'm done. Once they bring me my money, I'm done. I'm going to go grab another beer with you guys, and then outie, because I got a flight to catch in the morning.
Nice.
So it was totally like a big mic drop moment. Like, I just did what I showed you or told you I was going to do. I just showed you that I did it. Now I'm the wizard.
Now I'm a wizard. Or have you been hypnotized?
Right.
Right. Or both.
It could be both.
It could be
so yeah,
both.
it was a fun time. I met a lot of great people that do a
Awesome.
whole lot of different things, all within the spiritual and hypnosis world, but not all. It was cool. This is the first conference that I have attended that wasn't exclusively geared toward entertainment and performance hypnotists. So it was cool to kind of get into that other world and see other stuff that people are doing. And it's so diverse. Like, up and until this weekend, I was like, oh yeah, there's stage and there's clinical.
Right.
That clinical world is so wide, so diverse. There are people that so hyper focus, which I think is awesome, and hyper specialized, like down to I work with people who are pregnant and have a ton of anxiety around giving birth, and just get them where they need to be and on the level to have a calm, safe, effortless birth, and just all sorts of other stuff. I
wanted the hypnotists who work with people with hangnails, like who have a fear of fingernails and getting hangnails or bite their nail. I know there are people who deal with hypnotists who bite their nails.
Yeah,
right,
for sure.
But I wanted to list it like I'm a fingernail hypnotist. What do you do? I'm a fingernail hypnotist. Wait, what? Yeah. I would love to if there's a database of like a list of hypnotist specialties that you could click and then find you people within that who do that specific type of hypnotism.
There are.
I'm sure if I'm thinking it, it has to already exist.
Oh, I'm just telling you, I Googled it and there are, yes, the answer is yes. There is an article about it, then a practitioner doing it, then an audio book from a practitioner doing it. Then the next article comes from a website that the listeners may or may not have heard of, Oprah.com.
Oh, I think I'm familiar with it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've heard of that before.
Somebody relevant-ish.
Yeah,
right?
At least I know she was. Pretty sure she's still maybe. Possibly.
Look, if she recommends a book, everybody buying it. That's sure.
I just got to figure out how to get her to recommend our podcast. And have everybody listening.
Oh, good God. Wouldn't that be? Oh, whew.
That'd be insane. That'd be insane.
Then I'd be podcaster, hypnotist,
lawyer.
Yeah. But see, in Detroit, in Michigan, I'm not a lawyer. I'm only a lawyer here in Maryland. And
right.
I will tell, it'll be one of the first things that people will tell me. Because we were sitting there, and I don't know why. Because, I mean, this person didn't seem, energetic, I would describe one of the people that I was hanging out with last night, but not problematic. And she's like, so you're a lawyer. If I get arrested, can you take care of that for me? And I'm like, well, when they bring me this money, I might be able to post your bail, but that's about it in this state.
Right.
Right. What is it that you're thinking about doing that makes you think you're going to get arrested?
That you're going to need a lawyer, an out-of-state lawyer.
Exactly. So.
Yeah, it's kind of like, when my wife mentioned she's a marriage and family therapist, and people, oh, well, you're in the right place. There's a lot of people here who need help. Well, she can't help them as a therapist because, she's licensed in Las Vegas.
Right.
So
interestingly, one of the things that I learned is that clinical hypnosis and hypnotherapy largely is a cash business. But there are a handful of what's the right word for this? There are a handful of venues, formats, contexts, or what have you, that there are billable codes that are covered by a lot of major health insurances, and family and marriage counseling is among them.
Oh, interesting. Excuse me, I need to cut off this air. It's cold in this room.
So it was again, because it was totally a different world that I've known a little bit about. I've always had an interest in it. Depending on scheduling, I plan to get certified in it, not because I plan to be a practitioner, but because I always knew that the more that I knew about everything in the realm of hypnosis would help me on stage. And the little taste of it that I got this weekend definitely it solidified that thought. So
good. I was going to ask, did it persuade you in one way or the other?
It definitely did. I mean, I was already going to do it regardless. It's just been a matter of scheduling. There's a great opportunity for me to do it in April, connected to the Heartland Hypnosis Conference, which they want me to speak at. But as of today, so the Heartland Hypnosis Conference takes place over a long weekend. And then there's an add-on, I think the 3 days, maybe the 4 days before that conference, to do all of the clinical training and get the certification. As of now, I have a jury trial scheduled.
Oh, well.
That runs up and until the last, what I think will be the last day of the clinical training. So depending on whether or not that trial happens, or if it gets moved, or if that case resolves, will determine whether I get that certification there and this year.
Right.
So.
Well, that's awesome. That's really cool. I was hopeful that it would turn out to be a wonderful. Now, did you speak at this?
I did.
Conference?
Yeah.
And how did that go?
It was great. I expanded and kind of pivoted on the theme of the talk that I gave at the Performing Hypnosis Summit. The talk I gave at PHS was a lot of it was geared toward my story and my journey and how I was doing mentalism and found and fell in love with stage hypnosis. And so as to not throw out the baby with the bathwater, I started retooling some of the mentalism routines so that they look and feel like hypnosis routines. That way, if I get booked for a mentalism gig and I can't get somebody to book me for the hypnosis gig, then I can still come out and say, hey, I'm judgmentalist. I'm a hypnotist. I'm not going to hypnotize anybody today because, well, they don't want me to. They're not insured, whatever BS line I want to put in there, right?
Right.
They don't need to be insured. I'm insured, and they can be named under my insurance. So that's never actually a factor. But we say a lot of shit on stage that's not true.
Right.
So this time, because of some contacts that have been made to me, people have reached out to me that are doing stage hypnosis. They want it to learn mentalism so that they can open their show with it, which is not something that I do. And it's not something that I am I wouldn't encourage anybody to do this, but I'm not going to discourage anybody from doing it. So I've had some people that basically have brought me as a consultant to put together routines for them to open shows with.
Oh, cool.
So I taught most of the same
so you
stuff.
can, you can add consultant to the list of things you.
I could add consultant to the list, yeah. So what I did was the journey part was a very, very short little snippet in this presentation, and it was all really about demoing mentalism routines that look like that I have, framed out to look like hypnosis effects, and I really run the lecture in two parts because there are some people that don't want to know how it's done. So I tell people at the very, very beginning, I'm going to demo all these routines. Then I'm going to let you know that I'm done demoing the routines. That way, if you don't want to know how they're done, I will not be offended. You're more than welcome to leave and keep the mystery.
Bounce.
But that's on you. I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, you shouldn't learn this stuff. You should just stay in your world. So that, it went really, really well. There was one routine, the staple gun routine that I've done a lot, and I did a demo of at the Performing Hypnosis Summit that was in there. And then I did an influence routine, talked about how influence and suggestion don't just come from, you're going to see it in the hypnosis show in the context of me saying words and then people responding to those words that I say, but it can be visual. It can be taste and smell. I mean, in fact, some of your strongest memories are anchored in a taste or a smell that's associated.
Oh, very much so. If you say, your grandmother, what do you remember about your grandmother's house? I think one of the first things that remember is the smell.
Yeah.
How the grandmother's house smelled, how the grandfather's house smelled. Or, I mean, unfortunately, some people, how their grandfather smelled, right? That's also locked in there as well,
Yeah.
I can remember. I remember locations oftentimes via smell.
And then then there's another. So I do a routine, or I did a routine and taught a routine where 3 different people in the audience, everybody in the room thinks of a 3-digit number. I have 3 people in the audience that write their 3-digit number down on a pad of paper. We have somebody tabulate those numbers, and that number seems seemingly disconnected from anything that we've talked about at all, except for the fact that the screensaver on my laptop that's projected on the screen happens to, now that we're talking about it, clearly display and has been displaying that number since everybody walked in the room. And it's so much fun. I to do this stuff in front of magicians is one thing. To do this stuff in front of mostly non-magicians, it's just, you get that oh shit moment again.
Right. Right.
And then one of the other phenomena that you can explore in hypnosis is taste and smell. So when somebody's in trance, what's your favorite drink?
Just out
And
of
what
all
flavor
drinks?
of Kool-Aid? I'm sorry?
Cherry.
Cherry. Okay. So if I had you in trance and then I asked you that and you told me it's cherry Kool-Aid, I could say, okay, big sexy, eyes closed. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hand you a glass that has cherry Kool-Aid in. I didn't use the drops that you normally use. I use the sugar and the powder.
Okay.
So I want you to taste this and tell me how close it is to your recipe, and it's going to be fucking spot on. And I'm just handing you water,
Right.
but you, in trance, with the suggestion, are going to taste exactly what you're expecting to taste each and every time. So I do a routine that is not hypnosis. It looks like hypnosis. I had people coming up to me until I explained it to them, being like, how is that not hypnosis? Because they're used to seeing routines like this that are hypnosis. It looks so much like freaking hypnosis that the hypnotist in the room thought that I somehow put these folks in trance.
I'm the speed hypnotist. I'll put you on.
Look, I'm not bad, but I'm not that good. Like not at that level where it's like snap, snap, snap. So yeah, I have liquid in a glass, which the entire audience can see is just water. And my volunteers up on stage I didn't have them taste it, but they are smelling it. And I've got a pad of paper that is saying what they are smelling or what they think that they're smelling.
Right.
And it's a hit every time. So those are the 3 routines that I worked through and then ended up teaching people how to do. And they're the kind of things that and the best part is, and I love that when I'm talking to non-magicians about this and I'm teaching basic stuff, this is all basic stuff. I said, everything that I'm teaching you today, you never need to go to a magic shop to buy something. You never need to go to a magic website to buy something. I'm going to write down the names of 3 establishments: Staples / Office Max, Office Depot, whatever you have, Home Depot / Lowe's, Amazon.com. That is your magic shop. You never have to go anywhere else to get anything else that you've seen me on this stage perform with today.
No specialty orders required.
No specialty order. In fact, it's not even that expensive because the water, I just yanked that from the hotel.
Right.
The pen that you wrote your numbers down, stole that from the hotel. I mean, most of what I did, I could have just picked up and lifted along the way from the hotel.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of stuff that I could do that. We're live streaming this.
We are live. Speaking of which, shout out to Damon, a good friend of mine from back in the day. He's joined us on the Instagram live stream.
Oh, cool.
Appreciate it. Shout out to everybody over there on Instagram. We appreciate y'all. He's just the first one. He said something, so I wanted to be sure to respond and say hello back.
Do I'm in my office. Of course I have paper here. Like, the best part about it is that there's so much of this stuff that I could just do impromptu with really no preparation whatsoever.
Oh, we're about to get a special treat right now, listeners. A demonstration, as it were. If we can find the pen.
Pen or marker here that will actually show up.
You're gonna have to say that again because your mic is very directional.
Oh, I'm just making sure that I have something that if I draw on it, it'll actually show up. Now, I will preface this by saying I'm not much of an artist.
Okay.
Fair. But I have this currently blank card and pen here. Yes. This is totally impromptu. We have not talked about this. We've not
discussed this. I have no idea what's about to happen right now.
And hopefully this will work out. But again, it's probably going to end up being abstract. I want you to think about an object.
Okay.
So not an animal, nothing living, something that it looks like you're close to a window, right?
Yes.
Over your right shoulder there. Yeah. So something, it doesn't have to be something that you're looking out that window and seeing, but it should be something that you could look out a window and probably see. I want you to do you have an idea? something
I
in
do.
mind, some object in mind. I want you to just think about
Yes.
that object. Now, you're in Mexico,
I am indeed.
and I'm back
Glad
in
to
Maryland. We're like what, 2,000-3,000 miles away from each other, probably.
Sure.
All right, so I just want you to focus on that object. Hopefully, I can get most of this even with the distance, because a lot of times I'm doing this like side by side with somebody, so picking up what they're projecting is a little bit easier in that context. Okay. I'm definitely locking in on an image.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
I think I'm going to get out of this. What is your object for the very first time?
So I'm actually looking at and thinking about a clay planter.
I'm sorry, you glitched when you said that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said a planter. I'm looking at a planter, like a clay planter.
And what's in that clay planter?
A plant.
Okay. Like branches growing out of the planter? Weird.
Yes.
I didn't know exactly what I was getting, but I definitely had a base with something growing out of it, which is kind of wild. I don't know if this looks like that, but again, we are like 3,000 miles apart.
Right.
But
is madness and insanity. That is why I love you as a co-host, because that is some weird random shit.
So I mean, stuff like that. I just picked up a piece of paper that was sitting there and a pen, so I could actually. Again, we didn't have any plans. So what am I talking about on a tangent that we didn't plan to get on?
We don't. We're
105 episodes of not what we planned on.
Every week, I labeled an episode when we come in to do this live stream because it asked for a label and a title. And instead of just titling it episode 105, I always think of, okay, what might we talk about? So I always throw in whatever literally is happening to me at that moment.
So tell me about this co-working space you're in, because it's not the one that's in the same building like you were in the old Airbnb.
Correct. So this is I'm in somebody's apartment. I'm in their guest bedroom or their master bedroom. I'm assuming the guest bedroom because there's not a whole lot in here. But went online now that we got situated, and there've been a couple. I swear to God, there's something happening here every single day. Every day when you come to Playa del Carmen, tap into any WhatsApp group, and you'll eventually be tapped into a lot of WhatsApp groups. Right? Somebody actually sent me, there is a spreadsheet, a Google spreadsheet of like every WhatsApp group in Playa del Carmen that they're a part of, that they know about. And so I went through and like plugged into a bunch of them, and one of them was called Conscious Co-working, right? And that's this group here, and they had a co-working event. And I saw that it was in like walking distance from our apartment, and walking distance in this heat, like everything's technically everything's in walking distance, depending on how far you want to walk. But in this heat and humidity, this was literally a couple blocks away from where we live. And I was like, cool, I'll go check it out. Ask to get cool. Shout out to Andy, who this is his apartment and put this together. I'm pretty sure I'll have him as a guest on the podcast eventually. And got here and came in, and there was only 3 other people here, Andy and 2 other guests, and it was their first time. Also their first time. So none of the 4 of us had met each other ever before. So the first 4 people here were all brand new to one another. So that was a very interesting and fun experience. So shout out to Molly and shout out to Oscar, who are in the room next door, still chatting and talking away. And then we sat and got to know one another, and I have fun telling my story. I have not yet told the story of my name, which is interesting because I get a lot of the same reaction when you introduce yourself as Big Sexy. It is that that little laughter. Oh, that's really cool. Da 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 da. And
let me ask you something about that.
Yeah,
because you have similar reactions a lot of the time when
Correct.
people hear your name.
Yeah, one of 3.
And I'm assuming because I'm in a similar situation with my government name, that there's a standard series of questions that you're used to hearing after that first introduction and response.
Yes. Well,
Right.
my standard is the same question 3 times.
In 3 different ways, or what?
Pretty close, but still with the same verbiage. Yeah. 3 times I'll get asked very simply, okay, well, what's your real name? Wait, that's your real name? Okay, what? So you have that on your license? That's that pattern right there.
So, do you want to be a wizard?
I'm pretty sure you get those same kind of questions
With my government name.
With your government name.
So here, if you want to be a wizard, this is what you do. You can do this on like a 3x5 index card. You take those questions that you get each and every time, and you write them out in the order that you most frequently get them.
Right.
And then the answers. And you keep that card in your back pocket. And then you have the conversation that you've had hundreds of times before. Right. And then you're like, oh, I knew you were going to ask me these questions. I knew that today, of all days, because nobody knows that you've pulled this parlor trick 100 times, which you haven't yet, but 100 times from now you will.
Right.
I woke up this morning and I just had this feeling that I was going to be approached by somebody that I'm meeting for the first time, and they were going to ask me a series of questions. I was so confident in this that I actually wrote them down ahead of time and then handed it to them. And you're like, is that the conversation we just had?
Right.
And then you're just going to just fry people's brains.
I'm looking forward to doing that now. I'm definitely gonna do that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fun little parlor trick. You can put it in your wallet so you don't even have to remember. You just put it in there. And then when and
wait a minute.
You know,
I've had.
Do you ever experience deja vu? Because I'm experiencing deja vu right now.
Right now. As a matter of fact, this happened in the dream. I woke up and I thought, nah, that's not possible. But here we are, right now. And you know, I tend to jot down my dreams and pull out a wrinkled piece of paper. So this is the conversation we just had. Yeah. And if I really want to be a wizard, what I do is I get a pre-list of who's going to be there.
Yeah.
And I can just duplicate that very process and put each person in a different pocket.
Yeah.
And put their name on it.
And if you want to know after the fact how believable this was to the people experiencing it, find out who crosses the street when they see you coming.
Right.
Because from there on out, people are going to think you got some freaky voodoo going on.
Right. Like, oh, that dude, I don't know what's wrong with that dude. He's scary. He's spooky. Yeah.
Because when you subtly do something like that, like it's different when people show up to a magic or a mentalism show and they're expecting to see amazement and wonder. Okay, fine, that's great. Like the guy's just doing what he's supposed to do. But when it's an out of context rando, and I don't mean like, let me show you a fucking card trick, like fuck you.
Right.
But like there's no setup. The conversation came to you, and then all of a sudden you drop the bomb on them, and then it's like, hold on, let me sit down here for a minute. What just happened?
Right.
And
who are you, and how did you do that? And what are you? Yeah. What are you? You a wizard? Yes, I am.
As a matter of fact, yes, my cloak is at the dry cleaners.
I've been wondering if I should change my name to Damon Tigid. And I'm only saying that because I'm looking at our screen and I realize that's digital nomad backwards. Now everybody's doing it. They're all looking
What
at
I
the
would
screen.
do, if you're gonna
Damon,
do
because
that,
Damon is a common name. Damon is a
right?
common name. Tigid is, but it sounds like it could be a foreign last name.
What I would do is L apostrophe Tigid.
Tigid,
Yes.
or Tigid. Yeah, make it a hard G. Tigid. Damon Tigid. I don't know where I would ever use that. I wouldn't. Big Sexy is a much better name.
Yeah.
But, if I ever have a stage name, I might go under Damon Tigid. Another stage name. Damon Tigid.
Well, I mean, that's what you use. That's your fallback when people really press on the no. Seriously, what's your government name? It's Damon
it's Damon Tigid. Sorry. Yeah, that's my fallback.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the apostrophe as well. Yeah, Damon Tigid. LA apostrophe Tigid. I'm gonna have to write that
We're
down.
causing so much trouble here on this episode.
Well, I mean, this is the wizardry episode, right?
It's turning into it for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I was talking today here again as we're going through the history of our, as you're telling people your stories and whatever, about how we started, based on a post by our friends over there.
Hey, buddy, nice podcast.
Right, how they started with a simple Twitter post, and that kind of started us doing what we did.
So it's their fault.
It's 100% Hey Buddy Nice podcast fault that we are a podcast, right? But it's because ICS is the podcast, and mainly because Penn Jillette started the podcast, right? So the impetus is all because of Penn and Teller.
Right.
Yeah, they're responsible for a lot of stupid shit in the world. And we are some of that shit that is stupid in the world because of Penn and Teller.
The canon of podcasting.
Right. Which is fun to say. Which is really fun to say that you are a byproduct of Penn and Teller, even though neither Penn nor Teller know that. Penn might have a small idea.
Yeah.
Both because you're in the magic realm and have worked with Brogan, because I'm an entertainer and I know Matt and have been on Penn and Teller's Fool Us. So they're aware of the fact that we breathe life, even though they don't remember us, whatever. But it's been fun I was talking to them about listening to our older episodes, which every blue moon I might toss in an episode, one if I need to remember what it was, right? Because a lot of people ask what's a good episode to start with. So I kind of do some research and go, okay, what is a good episode to start with, right? I always try to make sure it's an episode past whenever we got our opening music, right? That's just to make sure the first thing you listen to, you need to hear our theme. Shout out to Froyo for our theme music, because it's becoming iconic. I really love hearing it. You know what I mean?
Also, Froyo did a lot of the audio tracks for the Court of the Mind show as well. So,
really awesome!
Shout out, the new show. A lot of that stuff is his work.
Yes, and Froyo's amazing. Yeah, definitely shout out to Froyo. We appreciate his contributions to both of our lives. It's pretty amazing. But I was talking about listening to the episodes and how much shit changes.
For sure.
Right. How many things have gone completely differently than what we were talking about originally. I mean, hell, I went on ICS and talked about what my plans were, and those changed within 3 weeks before leaving, or in a couple months once we left Vegas, and started this whole journey. And I love the fluidity of this journey, right? That we started out with one idea, but have been adaptable and changeable to wherever that leads us and takes us. And one thing it has provided us is content. I was talking about how the cool thing is, no matter where I go, I have something I always have something to talk about, because I'm constantly experiencing new things, right? Trying to navigate Mexico, is different than navigating Spain. Looking at pictures of Playa del Carmen, you meant to go, oh, it's a coastal town, so look, it'll be like dealing with Malaga. It's fucking not. It's it's amazingly different in a lot of good ways and some not so good ways. We did our. I mentioned we got a long-term apartment. That was in the last episode. So we did our first big shopping spree, right? Going to Walmart. They got a Walmart here. There are no Walmarts in Spain, right? But there's a Walmart here, and buying the stuff that we needed for the house.
I wouldn't know that I would have guessed that there would be a Walmart there either. So interesting.
But it's close enough to America, right?
Yeah.
And the I'm pretty sure there's Walmart. I wonder if there's Walmarts in Canada. I know there's a lot of trade. The Northern American continent. There's a lot of that kind of trade between these three agreements. Like I realized that I get free text and phone messages because I'm in Mexico, which I didn't have in Spain, right? So I can actually call people on my regular line because my plan is unlimited in Mexico as well. So I can take advantage of that. It's the little things like that, right? Like there's 7-Elevens here. But I remember back in Spain going in Romania as well. Oh, there's a McDonald's here, getting excited because there's a McDonald's, even though I know McDonald's is every fucking where, right? But getting excited to see a KFC, right? And getting excited to see like a Popeyes or a Carl's Jr., right? Like, oh, but it was always like a fast food restaurant. Store-wise, there wasn't any of that.
Totally different, right?
Out there, like every little convenient market, in Spain is all supermercado, just that and whatever. In Mexico, it's both. There are little supermercados, but they're fewer and further between than your 7-Elevens. Especially in this tourist town, right? Playa del Carmen is a tourist town, and we're getting ready to experience high scene, is what I'm being told, right? That's about to be insane here. So I'm really happy that we got here early and we tapped in to the community early. And now that we're settled and situated, I'm really going to start tapping to more of these co-working events and going to new places and meeting tons of new people. Listeners know this past weekend I did an episode with Rhiannon, who is a hypnotherapist and a coach and everything, and a traveler. And I met her going to a club event, a rooftop pool party, right? And so I'm really looking forward to stay tuned, listeners. The bonus episodes are about to blow up. As a matter of fact, I recommend going over to bullwiththebutthole.com so you can get access to those videos, because man, are these people interesting to listen to and look at, right? And talk to. And then I recommend subscribing, because I've also been putting up quite a bit of bonus content there. And speaking of which, the episodes you did, not the episodes, the interviews you did.
Yeah.
We should, if you have the raw footage, we should definitely throw that up on our Patreon. Our subscribers to be able to view as as another little tidbit for our people who support the podcast. Right, you support us, we give you something. That's kind of the way this little thing works, right? And we're always looking to grow listeners and followers and subscribers, right? I invite people to hold on a second.
For some reason, we've been coughing and sneezing all day today, so he's on the cough button. I was on it earlier.
Yeah, I almost missed it. But yeah, we invite you to join the community. What I'm liking about Patreon more and more, and I know it's about to change, right? So I know that the shift might suddenly shift soon. But when they added the being able to join a community for free,
yeah,
like I love that idea. Like join a community for free. So sign up if you're listening to this and you're not already a member of our Patreon. Go to bullwiththebutthole.com. Remember the butthole has 2 T's. Sign up there and join the community for free. You'll get access to the interview videos that I do, the bonus episodes that drop on Saturday that the world can listen to but only our Patreon members can see. And then there's community, and I would love there start to be community talk, and we're looking for, conversation around where you would like this podcast to go. Like, we're on episode 105. This is 105, right?
Yeah.
And we're moving much more towards, people ask for educational stuff and stuff like that. So I'm starting to actually write those scripts and cultivate those videos and start recording soon. Once we got to buy new ring lights for our apartment. Once I get a ring light, I'm going to start recording educational videos about the processes of things like paying for electricity in Mexico. Like, what does it mean to sign a long-term rent in Mexico? Being a digital nomad, right? Like, I don't have a residency in Mexico, but I was able to sign a lease, right? With that type of information. What is shopping like around the world? Trying to mitigate what those kind of topics are around the travel that we've been doing for a year and a half now, right? And so I really want to spark that community and invite members to talk to us about what they want to hear. What type of informative videos would you really be interested in seeing and viewing and getting more information about? I'm pretty sure they would love to hear about your journey as a hypnotist, which you talk about on your other podcast, Between Two Minds.
Yeah.
Right. But have there been some of that crossover and information and stuff like that? Your experiences on cruising. I really can't wait until we cruise together.
It's gonna happen.
Right. That it's gonna happen, and that's gonna be a game changer. Right. It's gonna be one of those iconic moments where we actually go on a cruise and do a good week or week and a half cruise, or whatever the time frame is, experiencing a new locale, or and conducting interviews and doing that all that kind of stuff, but in the same space, right? Like, I was talking today to Molly about my dreams of there being a big sexy digital nomad cruise, right? We talked about this before on the podcast. That's nothing new. I always get when I can give a quick shout out to our boys over there at
Cruisehabit.com, bitches.
That's right.
Right, cruisehabit.com, who are wonderful, our sponsors here, right? And their website. And I love being able to give that shout out, and looking forward to setting up that kind of cruise and making that kind of sponsorship and everything mean a lot because of what we do, where we go, and the world we're living in, and you book magic.
Yeah.
Right. So getting performers and entertainers, I'm entertainers, So being on the cruise and booking these acts for our guests.
I could do it because this is coming.
Yes.
This actually just got solidified. This is not, I don't think that this is going to work with Big Sexy's schedule. I think we've already talked about that, but I will be there.
That.
And we've also solidified all of the details that are important as far as the green light for the performers.
Now, here's the deal, actually. That's in April.
It is. 13th
we will
to the 20th.
We will be here. We signed a long-term lease until June. So since we talked about that, our plans have much more solidified. So I may actually be able to make that.
So the flight, I'm pretty sure that Southwest does directs from Cancun to BWI. And if there is not a shuttle that will go from BWI to the cruise terminal, Chris and Lisa, who are putting this thing on, can absolutely get that set up for you.
Listeners, this is live. This is happening here. You're hearing it here first. I am today, because you know what? I'm in a co-working space that is inspiring us to work on shit. I am going to look up travel and see if that is doable, and see if we can make our way to that cruise. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean,
I-
overall,
I'll keep
Carnival
you
is
posted.
not super expensive. This. I mean, obviously, it's not free, but it's not super expensive
Right.
to cruise on Carnival, and it's Southwest, so the flights are generally relatively reasonable, and you don't have to worry about paying extra for bags, paying extra for your seat. That's coming, but it's not there yet. Yeah, that could be pretty kick ass.
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited. Our friend Brogan, shout out to Brogan, finally sent me the initials. I may have mentioned this last episode. Sent us the initials for Big Sexy Digital Nomad in our same font. So
Yeah.
stay tuned. There's going to be more gear and stuff with just the initials on that you can rock and support. I'm looking forward to, again, now that we have an address, ordering stuff and getting stuff and making stuff happen. We'll see how it works here in Mexico about things coming here and that kind of transport and all that kind of stuff. So stay tuned. We got things coming. We got things happening. I'm really excited. And I want to say a big thank you to everybody who joined us live today over there on Instagram. We appreciate y'all being here. Anybody live here, we never know. We always talk about going live. And when we do this, normally we go live on Thursdays. That tends to be the habit. This past Thursday, I think it was moving day for us, and you were traveling. We couldn't squeeze it in. I don't think it wasn't moving day for us, but it was there were some schedule hiccups. Yeah. Oh, I remember what it was. We recorded Rainbow Dreamcatcher, the Love podcast, and that recording went long, and you were flying to Detroit.
And I had a heart out because I was flying
right
that day. Yeah.
Right. So we didn't want to try to squeeze that in. We don't ever want to short you, the listeners. You mean too much to give you.
We didn't want to rush over Rainbow Dreamcatcher. We didn't want to rush us. So here we are.
So no rushing. We're gonna give when we give it to you, we give it to you raw. We give it to you full. We don't want to rush in and rush out. We're not like that. We like to go for the long haul. Or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, so congratulations by the way on the Michigan outing. I'm glad to hear that went well.
Oh yeah.
Good to hear. What's the next thing you got coming up?
So as of right now, I mean that cruise is on there. I've got a bunch of private stuff that's happening in the winter months. There's a fundraiser show Between Two Minds in November. So as far as performance is concerned, as of right now, I got a little bit of time off until mid-November.
Cool.
And then and some stuff will inevitably spring up between now and then.
Of course, it always does. It always does. Yeah, the
holiday parties, and then I'll get all the last minute holiday parties coming too.
Right. We'll be doing our annual Christmas party in January. So any listeners, any Sexy World travelers in Mexico, if you're in Playa del Carmen, stay tuned. We will definitely be having our Christmas party in January, 3 weeks late from Christmas. 3 weeks late, however many years straight, with a couple asterisks because of COVID and just because of COVID. Actually, I think we only missed 1 year now because of COVID. Because even last year we did our annual Christmas party in Spain, right? And so we're keeping up that tradition here in Mexico. Our apartment is amazing for performance. Hosting rather. We had our housewarming party, so shout out to everybody who came to that. It's such a good apartment. It's 2-bedroom, 2-bath, really huge. So, we host Mahjong parties there on Sunday. So if you're hearing this, and again, you're in Playa del Carmen, you want to come to Mahjong Sunday, reach out. Hit me up on Instagram at bigsexynomad or at whoisbigsexy. Let me know you heard this. You want to come check that out. You're 100% invited. Anybody coming out to Mexico and you want to hang out in Playa del Carmen, we have a guest bedroom. I'm just putting that out there. Right. And again, we're going to be here for the long term. So we'll be here for a minute. right? Which is nice. So we get to be here for a minute. I will be headed back to the States sometime around the holidays, right around the holidays. We're not sure if we're going together, if it's just going to be me. So stay tuned for that. That'll be very interesting. It'll be very interesting if I go by myself, because it'll be the first time in a really long travel that I take a trip without the missus, right? Every year she takes a trip in August. Well, not every year, but almost every year she takes a trip in August for her girls' trip, right? So she leaves and I'm stuck home. It'll be very interesting for me to leave and go out and do stuff with her still at home. So stay tuned for that interesting madness that is down the wire. Awesome.
Cool.
And of course, as always, go over to our friends over at cruisehabit.com.
cruisehabit.com/BSDN.
That's the spot.
That's our sponsor. We appreciate them very much.
I'm Billy.
And I'm Larissa.
Come talk ship with us at cruisehabit.com/BSDN. Safe travels.
We appreciate them so much for being a sponsor of the podcast. Remember, we are not limited. We're not limiting anybody on how many people you can tell about our podcast. We want you to tell as many people as possible, and tell those many people to tell as many people as possible. If you're interested on how to say, hey, my friend, his name is Big Sexy. He has a podcast called Big Sexy Digital Nomad. His co-host is a hypnotist and a lawyer, and they talk about all the madness that ensues in both travel and the performance world.
That's right.
Boom. There's a little nugget for you. Maybe I'll take that, clip it, and make a promo or whatever.
But full-on pyramid scheme here, friends.
Yes.
Full-on pyramid scheme.
Tell as many people as you like. If any of you guys are
we can get.
If any of you guys are good at making promotional videos, right? If any of our listeners are really good at making a promotional commercial for the podcast, hit us up. Let us know. I would love to make a promo for us, for the world. And as I'm meeting people throughout these co-working events and stuff like that, if I meet anybody, we're gonna set stuff up. We might be doing a photo shoot here in Spain, so I'm looking forward to doing that. And I really want to bump us up. So we appreciate you all for listening. Thanks for tuning in. We love y'all. And in the meantime, safe travel.